Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to Hugo Girl, everyone. I'm Amy.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Lori.
And we're together again.
Yay!
We're in the room together, breathing each other's air for the first time in a year.
This podcast is brought to you by the Pfizer vaccine, which I just learned from reading yesterday, a complete waste of a Free Atlantic article that was about TikTok trends about the different kinds of vaccines. And I learned that the Pfizer vaccine, which we all got, is the sexy vaccine. So
That checks out.
absolutely.
If I do say so myself.
The best joke in that was that they talked to somebody who said their sister got the Moderna vaccine. And the person was like, well, that's okay. We need a strong middle class. No idea that this was a thing, that there was stratification of the cool vaccine and the less cool vaccine. I think all vaccines are cool, but I guess it's no coincidence that we all got the Pfizer vaccine.
I could see it going Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and then Azteca or whatever it's called.
AstraZeneca.
No, that's what they get in this book.
Speaking of, we are talking about a memory called Empire by Arkady Martine, pen name of Anna Linden Weller. And it won the 2020 Hugo Award for Best Novel. Yeah, so plot summary. Okay, our protagonist is Mahit, and she is the current ambassador from Elsel Station, a tiny independent mining station, to the planet Teixcalaanli, home of a huge, devouring galactic empire. And Mahit is sent to Teixcalaanli when Teixcalaanli Empire asks that the current ambassador that they have, Iskander, be replaced with a new ambassador. So Mahit is sent down to the planet. Mahit, like Iskander, is a super fan of Teixcalaanli culture. So she's pretty excited about going down there, but a little apprehensive, obviously, because it's a huge new place. Elsel has state secret technology called imago machines, which are implants holding all of Elsel's institutional memory in the form of recordings of individual people's memories and experiences. And these implants meld with the host, and sort of a third person is a result, I guess. Mahit has a 15-year-old recording of Iskander's memories and his consciousness in her imago machine when she goes down there, so that he may guide her when she's down there. But shortly after her arrival on Teixcalaanli, the machine malfunctions and Iskander no longer responds, so she's kind of working alone after that. But then she discovers that Iskander was murdered, and then also kind of figures out that there's a two-way coup going on, which is on the verge of destabilizing Teixcalaanli, and kind of as a result targeting Elsel for annexation. They want to take over the station and the space the station is in. She also discovers there is an alien threat on the borders of Elsel space that also threatens Teixcalaanli. She manages to get a second imago machine implanted of more recent Iskander memories. And then with that, and the aid of her cultural liaison 3 Seagrass and Imperial Advisor 19 ADZ, Mahit discovers the connections between the original Iskander's death and the looming Teixcalaanli secession crisis, and works to save Elsel from annexation and redirect Teixcalaanli toward the invading aliens by convincing the Emperor Sixth Direction to make a dramatic symbolic transfer of power to 19 ADZ.
The end.
So that's a very brief summary of a 400-plus page book. Yeah. Goodies from Goodreads, guys. Let me have them. What you got?
I had a big bad one.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's have it.
All right. This is an excerpt from a very long review from I'm just going to go out on a limb and say gentleman, named Vagabond of Letters. And he didn't finish the book at 120 pages, but had a lot to say about it. Yeah.
His name should be Two Asshole.
Upon reflection, we decided that Two Asshole was too much of an asshole to even bother making fun of him. So never mind on that review, and moving on.
I think it's just a good reminder that even though Hugo Awards are definitely bending towards progressiveness, there's definitely a lot of people who aren't happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a pretty, 4 or 5 year run on lesbians writing Hugo Award-winning books, so we're doing good.
Good job, lesbians. Keep it up. My goodies from Goodreads weren't that bad. I mostly was excited about a trend that I found where people were naming their reviews after the book. So I found a memory called Snooze Fest, a memory called Unpronounceable, and a memory called Why Did I Spend Money on This Book? I did like this one, a memory called Snooze Fest by Jesus Wept. I don't know, this is G-Z-U-S. I'm supposed to, I guess it's Jesus. Jesus Wept. He says, and this is a very small part of his very long review. Again, didn't finish the book. I'm assuming it's a man. And then there are character names like 15 Engine and 3 Seagrass. Every citizen has a number and a random object combined for their name. Awful. The last one is a main character, and every time her name popped up, all I could think was C3PO, SEA3 the word, P as in urine, O-H, C3PO.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, so that was my favorite part when people were doing that.
Whenever I got a little bit, because I would find myself a little bit frustrated because the names, every single time I'm like, this is different, this is weird. But I just would be like, Henry the Seventh, like, that's completely fine. That sounds like a normal name to me.
Right.
But I just was switching.
All names are made up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, like, it just makes you realize how much you take for granted. But,
Did you find any reviews?
I didn't. I looked at one briefly, and the only review that actually I kind of agree with was kind of a problem we have with a lot of books. It's like it was a lot more tell and not show. I could use some more show.
She definitely does have that.
Like, I wanted a little bit more detail about the Empire, but apart from that,
she wanted to tell us all about the politics she had created.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And she was doing it sort of through the eyeballs of her characters, but not really telling us much about the characters themselves, which was
probably on purpose. So.
Yeah, I forgot about this one, where a memory called "Why Did I Spend So Much Money on This Book?"
Oh God, it's only like $12.
said, there's a part in the book where there's an attempt on Mahit's life, and she ends up killing her assailant. And this is a pretty good soap moment in a way, I think, for later. But he says that this being the first time she killed someone, she is upset and distraught. So naturally, her new BFF takes her out to get ice cream.
That was cute.
Which is true. Yeah, so this book has a lot going on in it. I mean, the main themes in this book are, this idea of cultural appropriation, exactly the word. It's more like cultural worship, like really liking a culture that is dominating, and sort of proliferating, even though that culture might want to come and take over where you live. That's a lot of it. And then there's a lot about what makes a person a self. So the imago machine idea is that, people from LSL Station, they have these implants put in them that sort of melds them and another person and gives them the benefit of that person's memory and experience, while they carry their stations.
Which gave me, like, truly horror to think about someone living in my head.
I know.
I didn't like it.
What'd y'all think of that idea?
I wouldn't sign up for it, but I mean, you do sign, like, she signed up for it.
Yeah.
They
Everybody
say, like,
does.
yes, I do, I want this. It's not something that's imposed on people. And also it feeds her interest in this society because she wants to know as much about it and be as immersed in it as she can. So for her to have like a first person context for a culture that she really loves is like a gift. So she's like very excited about it, and then it backfires. And instead of assimilating, she's got a second person in her head and eventually a third person, and they actually engage in conversation, which is not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
So I'm interested I hope that plays out more in the next couple of books, because I think it's interesting. But like, one good thing about it, even though it does seem scary, is like she's chosen because she's compatible with him. Yeah. So they talk to each other in her head, but they get along and they see things similarly. So it could be a lot worse. But the thing that I really like about it is that she's got a whole emotional experience that is divorced from any intellectual context. And you guys know this, that I have a PTSD diagnosis. And so like that causes me to sometimes have emotional reactions that are driven by like physical things that are going on in my body. So I may not like understand intellectually why am I feeling this way. And so it just like was very meaningful to me to read how she's thinking through, like, I'm having someone else's endocrine response. I'm feeling this rush of emotion. I'm feeling this fear. I'm feeling this affection or this arousal. And she doesn't know why specifically, because when the imago machine goes sideways, she doesn't have access to the information, but she still has all the physical reactions. And I really enjoyed reading her, like, thinking through that and trying to make some sense of her feelings. Or are they my feelings, or are they his feelings? I thought it was fascinating.
I liked reading through it. I think she probably hit on that topic maybe one or too many times.
Yes.
She really liked to work through that.
She leaned into it a lot, but like for me,
it was interesting.
It felt like very, it was familiar in some ways to me. So I appreciated seeing that on a page, because I think a lot of ways we talk about our minds as if they're something totally separate from their bodies and our bodies, and they're not. So I think that this does a good job of acknowledging that.
That's interesting, because one of the things I was thinking about with these Imago machines is like, how can you record a person's mind and then have that affect another person's body, right? Like,
I have the answer for that.
Okay.
So the parts that I really liked and talked about, it says the body dies, and that really does matter. Most of personality is endocrine. So like it's probably proteins in some sense. When they talked about how they matched as people, you match for endocrine compatibility. We match for personality. There are a lot of different endocrine systems that can produce very similar people. It's easier when there's a degree of physical similarity or similarity in early life. So that could be PTSD based. So it's all like in the body.
Well, hormone response.
so like her body responding to signals that are put in her brain from this other brain. Does that make sense?
Yeah, feelings, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not just his voice or like his experience.
Yeah.
It's his feelings too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because like, you know, love and desire and things are like rushes of oxytocin and other things. And so she's like having those rushes, but doesn't remember the experience that's causing that because her Imago machine has been sabotaged. So she doesn't know for sure that Iskander had a sexual relationship with 19 as who shines as brightly as the edge of a knife. But she's like, well, I just met her and I'm kind of
really
horny
like
right
her.
now. So she's like, why am I so horny in her shower right now? And she's like, they must have done it.
It's like our friend of the pod says, Holly, everything is chemical. So
Yes, what she shouted yesterday.
Everything's a chemical, everyone. Everything's
And
a
she's
chemical.
not wrong.
she ain't wrong, but
Oh, she got so mad the other day when I was I found some ice pack that I bought from a tennis elbow, and the ice pack said that it managed to do this without any chemicals, to be an ice pack without any chemicals. And I sent her a picture of that, and she was so mad. Everything's a chemical.
it's like my coworker that called zucchini a fruit, and I just rolled my eyes back into my head, and they fell out.
A zucchini is a fruit, Haley.
But would you put it in a fruit salad? No, you wouldn't. You know exactly what I was talking about.
I never thought about a zucchini being a fruit. I guess it has seeds. So
Yeah, but like when I ask you your favorite fruit, people say banana, orange.
Oh, yeah.
So this book was mainly me in my own mind just repronouncing words thousands of times. And you say Imago, and I say Imago, like she's a country girl. But then I was like, no, that can't be right. And I was like, Imago. So I'm just in my house just saying words out
Imago.
loud. So I say Imago. So an Imago machine.
Like Imogene and
Yeah.
Imago.
Yeah, she lives in
Imago.
Kentucky. Imago.
Oh, E-M-M-A.
Imogene and her twin brother Imago.
Well, here's my argument for the soft G is that Imago.
Yeah, I don't
That
know.
doesn't sound right either. So.
Hard G sounded right in my brain. So
No, me too.
I don't have any strong opinions on how we pronounce these things.
No, I know. It's funny how we do things differently in our heads. So
She did have a pronunciation guide in the back of this book that did not tell us how to pronounce Imago or Imago, because all she told us about El Cell Station language was that it sounds kind of like Armenian. But we don't get any of the. So this is kind of bugged me. So we're in Teixcalaanli, and we get Teixcalaanli words in italics to show us that they are Teixcalaanli words, right? We don't get any El Cell Station words. And yet it's clear they have another language. We just are never introduced to it.
and meanwhile, it's all written in English. So
I know. Anyway, that bugged me a little bit.
She has an interview with NPR, which I'll link in the show notes,
cool.
that discusses the poetry that she wrote.
Yeah.
And she was like, I just was like, I'm writing this in English. I'm writing it freeform English. I'm not going to try to make it like an English translation of a Teixcalaanli poem that scans in Teixcalaanli and does all the puns and double speak. She was like, we're just not doing that.
We're just going to assume that the people in the book can do that. I don't have to.
Yeah, which I appreciate that, actually. She's like, let's just make this entertaining.
The poetry thing was interesting. That was another part I wanted to talk about because so this empire is heavy on the poetic rhetoric. Like they have poetry competitions and oratory is very big deal. And we don't live in a culture that reveres high oratory or maybe people orate and they use rhetoric, obviously, but it's not poetic and it's not.
Definitely not anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any like human cultures that favorite.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Do you guys know of any? Can y'all think of anything now that does anything like that?
I mean, I don't really
Besides
know anything
Hamilton?
besides like the Western world, so I don't.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, so
Same.
Japanese culture has like haiku, and there's,
But do they use it in their politics?
I don't think any culture uses poetry in politics.
I feel like we don't know the answer to that.
fair.
I really only know American politics and then like some of the shouting that I hear from Parliament, the British Parliament on the news. But yeah, or like oratory is not overly valued in like 2021 in the US, I don't think.
Her take on it, the author's take on it, and I wish that I'd written down where I think it was from that NPR interview. That
She
you
did
just-
talk about
yeah,
it. She mentioned Hamilton too.
She said, yeah, I think I cut this quote off right before the Hamilton reference, but she said, Anglophone Western culture of the 21st century has mostly relegated the political power of poetry to in-group settings, the open mic, the protest rally. But poetry has a political valence, which is widely recognized elsewhere, both currently and historically. But I look askance at that currently, because I don't know where that would be.
Well, I mean,
It's weird to give no examples
I
either.
feel like she's got some anthropological expertise that we do not. So.
Well, she has past examples, and she said that it's a pretty direct lift from Middle Byzantine literary culture. Teixcalaanli, like Byzantium, has a literature that centers poetic forms in part because their literature is one which is performed out loud in political settings.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I guess like in the world today, I bet music probably takes like, there's socially conscious rap and there's
Yeah, that's true.
folk music still that.
Yeah, so it's like the edges of culture, or not the edges, but like the people who aren't in power use it, but then the people who are in power don't, which is they want to sound folksy.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of uhing and umming coming out of Congress.
Yeah, like they want, it's like important to everybody who's in power to sound really folksy and sound really like everyman.
Oh God, this is why I saw John Ossoff was put on the spot by some angry Fox News reporter, and he was just like, bing, bang, boom, complete sentences, like him and Stacey Abrams when I hear them talk.
Stacey
And I'm like,
Abrams.
listen to these beautiful sentences with complete thoughts and subject-verb agreement, and they just make so much sense, and it's like a relief to listen to them talk.
Oh, sorry, were you?
No, I was just gushing.
It reminds me of one speech that Obama, and I like Obama a lot.
He's a big ummer.
He's a big ummer, and he tries to sound folksy. Like, he doesn't, I don't think he sounds like that in real life, but then when he gives speeches, he says things like this. This has stuck with me. He was talking about Guantanamo, and he was talking about, we're gonna have to kill some folks. He said that.
Oh, God.
Oh God.
We're just gonna have to kill some folks. Like, what?
yeah.
What, Obama? Yeah, anyway. So the poetry thing was interesting to me. I have never been a huge fan of poetry. Do you guys
Same.
like poetry just in your lives?
I don't like poetry with really strict forms.
Interesting.
Like, I don't know, like poetry can be nice. I took,
I like some poems.
I was
I'm
a
just-
poet in college, so I took 3 creative writing classes, and I was really good at it.
I never took a poetry class. I took prose creative writing classes. I guess we wrote some poetry. Must have, right? Oh, no, I know. I definitely remember writing poetry in creative writing class.
I've always been a novel girl.
Yeah, same.
I have definitely liked some poetry, but it's not something that I seek out to read for pleasure. I definitely liked some in school, but unless it's handed to me, I don't really look for poetry.
I like some poems, but I don't think I could say that I like poetry. As like a...
I read every poem in the New Yorker every month.
Really?
So the poetry thing makes me think of a point that I noticed about how Teixcalaanli culture is such a mishmash of digital and analog culture. Yeah, it feels steampunky to me.
Stupid info fish things.
Yeah. But then I thought, so the infofish things, when they need to send each other a letter, they send a physical stick that then projects the letter that then has to be decrypted with whatever is the hot poem. Which, by the way, if it's a hot poem, it's not really encrypted. If everybody knows how to do that, it's
totally
not really
for show.
encrypted.
Yeah.
So some of that stuff I was sort of like back and forth on, is this credible? Like, would this really be a thing? But then I thought, like, Teixcalaanli culture sort of seems like peak hipster. Like, I mean, it is very hipster to have a physical thing that then projects a high-tech thing.
Yeah.
Like, when you could just, they're all wearing these Google Glass cloud hooks all the time. So I could see a world where you might shoot each other quick texts, like our group chat would be on our cloud hook, but then like
Official.
I will say, like, though, for work I send emails, but when I like am really like, this is no joke, you're getting a certified letter in the mail on paper.
Yeah, that's true. We do.
So I
true.
could imagine that, but I have a difficult time imagining that every communication comes on a physical stick in a bowl
There's always a
They're
info
bowls.
fish.
So many bowls of info fish. And sometimes those info fish have paper in them. Like,
Well,
sometimes
actual
decorated.
paper.
Sometimes it's paper.
They're like personalized by like the color clothes you wear a lot.
Yeah, or you can tell like how important it is if it's in a fancy info stick. Oh yeah, it was like surprising to me. You've got this big informational apparatus literally on your face all the time, but I gotta go get a servant to bring me a bowl full of my emails.
But Mahit doesn't get a cloud hook. So she has to communicate with in other ways. So that I actually didn't think about that until this moment. That since Mahit's not a citizen of Teixcalaanli, she doesn't get a cloud hook. So anybody who wants to talk to her has to send her an info
She
fish.
doesn't even get they don't even give her like an Android phone.
I know. Yeah, that was crazy. And then it's all in bowls and not like organized in any fashion at all.
It's just a bowl of
Just
sticks.
a bowl of sticks.
I picture the bowl as like a spittoon. Like it's like brass and you're just like ding.
Oh, that's really interesting. I was picturing it literally as a huge bowl and it was filled with thumb drives.
Yeah, thumb drives,
That's how I
exactly.
pictured it.
Decorative thumb
But
drives.
somehow they have cracks in them that are sealed with wax that you have to break open. Like
Yeah.
yeah, that whole thing was like,
That's when you know, like, a culture has too much time on its hands. They're like, how can we make this convenient thing harder?
Okay, so relating to the fact that this is a really big empire, they got too much time on their hands. We are a very large empire as of late and peaceful, and it gives men and women a great deal of time to think about what displeases them. So like,
that's true.
you know, like it's like why people get so grumpy maybe sometimes, or like why they have time. They this is the pinnacle of civilization. Life is good. It's kind of like how, you know, all our ancestors had to fight wolves to survive, and now we all have anxiety, but we don't
know
have
why.
any fear. We're just like sitting on my couch, and I'm like, why am I shaking? It's because of our ancestors.
No, you don't have time to go full Karen unless you've got all your meals planned out for the next 2 weeks.
Yep. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. Also, they still have a subway, but they also have cars.
They got a MARTA.
They got a MARTA, but it runs on algorithms.
This reminds me of the fact that if you took someone from the 1950s and put them today and just walking down the street, they wouldn't be blown away because all of our technologies is in this tiny, tiny little box that does everything. But like, if you look at science fiction from the 50s, they're like huge computers and flying cars. I don't think people realize that all the technology that we have now was like,
It's going to get small.
yeah, and like, and 17 devices are now one device.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about reading older science fiction is like how they imagine. Like nobody ever anticipates email, which
Yeah.
is funny to me.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, Hyperion, they talk about
That
the
is
internet.
true.
which
That is
cool.
true.
So,
That is true.
yeah.
I forgot about that.
when was Hyperion published, though? Was it not like
Early
90s?
90s, yeah.
Yeah, there was internet.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't like big to the extent that it is today. Like he really kind of like,
He saw it coming.
yeah,
Yeah,
like in a big way.
for sure.
Maybe it was late 80s. I don't know.
God bless. Oh, actually, the subway thing. So she's a city planner, the author. She's a historian
that's
and city
cool.
planner.
That makes sense.
So she spends a lot of time in this book talking about the buildings and talking about how like the palace, especially the palace province, is sort of laid out, and she's really into it, which I found charming.
Oh, I can't picture that kind of stuff at all.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the
I was
city
just
looks
sort of like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't know where we are in relation. I don't know where I am in relation to things like in real life. Like sometimes Kevin will give me directions and he'll be like, "Oh, go north," and I'm like, 10 years you've known me and you think I know what north means.
Which house is that towards?
Oh, well, I need left and right. That's,
Okay.
that's what I know. It's left and right.
GPS directions like to tell you to go west towards things, and I'm like, I don't know which direction that is.
I wish that she had taken about 2 paragraphs every chapter to like imitate Charles Dickens and like really describe the rooms that they were in. Because I was just in a gray box the entire time I read this. Like there wasn't a ton of like descriptive detail.
Oh, I pictured all of the rooms like the IKEA showrooms.
Oh,
How
that
they're
makes
always
sense.
like very perfect. Everything's very sleek. It's like white tile. Even though there's like a ton of stuff in there, it looks like perfectly organized and sleek. That's how I imagine pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Same, but my rooms were from the Starship Enterprise. How like everything's like a couch with one coverlet
Yes.
that you sleep under, and like that's how I was picturing all the rooms was basically Starship Enterprise rooms. That's really Starship Enterprise always informs all of my visualizations of science fiction.
I think
I watched it so young.
I think that this book would do well as a movie because I think there's a lot of space for visual
agreed.
design.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it would make it 10 times
The
better.
station sounds really cool. So she comes from this mining station that is like perfectly poised between the gravity wells of 2 planets, basically. And it's just spinning there, and it's been spinning there for 14 generations. And it's like, she describes it as like being pockmarked from like little things that are hitting it, space debris and stuff like that. And there's 30,000 people living on this station and how everybody has their little cubbyhole to sleep in. And she describes the station, I think, really well. I think a little bit better, I think, than she describes the planet.
Which is ironic because, like, the space station is tiny.
I know.
And this is like the
and
grand...
we spend no time there.
Yeah.
But yet I can picture that better.
Well, I guess she remembers the station, and then the whole time she's in Teixcalaanli, she's trying to not get murdered.
Yeah.
So she's, like, very busy.
That's true. Mahit. She lands on this planet and she is in the soup, like, immediately.
Can I say something about when she lands on the planet?
Sure.
A note that I made was that when she arrives and she's at Space Customs, she gets a physical pat down. Like, have we moved past the like stand in the thing and put your arms up over your head and like let TSA look at your panties? Like,
Laurie, she's a barbarian and she needs to be patted down.
It's so funny. Like, that was the first note I made. I was like, wait, we're getting physical pat downs and whenever this is.
I like that they packed her into this tiny little thing with all her luggage when they shot her out of wherever she lands.
Oh, like George Jetson in this thing when he goes to work and he just like is in a space pellet.
And then she gets out and her new space girlfriend is there.
They're so cute.
3 Seagrass. I love her.
I do too.
3 Seagrass just wants to do her very best all the time. And she's very committed to her job.
Well, I like that she's very committed to her job, but she's also a whole person. Like, she's not only her job, because she's very committed to her job, but she's like, no, taking care of you is my job. She's not a company man. Yeah. It's like, she's very good at all that, and she knows how to navigate everything and knows all the rules, but she's like, no, you guys told me to take care of her, so I'm going to take care of her.
And she also describes her vainglorious ambition, which I think is a funny little moment with, like, they're talking about their, like, inner secrets, and that's her inner secret, that she's really ambitious, and she wants to climb the ranks, and it's cute. But so, yeah, 3 Seagrass, if anybody hadn't read, is Mahit's cultural liaison on Teixcalaanli, and she's supposed to take her around and show her the ropes.
And she has to do everything for her. Like, Mahit can't open doors, because your cloud hook opens a door, and so she always has to have her minder with her, which is very clever. Great. I mean, it doesn't seem like a great allocation of resources, though.
But that's what they do in like North Korea. If you go there, that you have a person with you all the time to like take you around.
No one goes there though. Really?
Well,
like it seems like there are a lot of
ambassadors.
Ambassadors, and so to me, it would make more sense to put the Google Glass cloud hook on them and track their movements that way. Because you're always tracking this like basically foreign operative. And then it's like you don't have the risk of the emotional bond that 3 Seagrass and Mahit have, because 3 Seagrass is going to go down with Mahit ship.
And she does. Like, that's the thing. Like, the cloud hook is not going to change
sides.
Yeah, but 3 Seagrass definitely kind of does.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it was funny. They were like sneaking around in the morgue, and I was like, you guys are all wearing an iPhone on your face. I don't understand how you can sneak around.
You're not sneaking anywhere.
Yeah. It was another one of those things where it's like this weird, confusing combo of analog and digital. I was like, but surely you're being surveilled by this thing all the time.
The fan art that I saw, it's like a tiny, tiny little piece of glass above the eye. So then maybe it's a little...
It sounded like they were different on everybody's face. So like, because 19 ads had one that looked a little different than 3 Seagrasses. And then they talked about Pearl, Tin Pearl had one that was like his entire side of his face, and like, so they're all a little different. I think you can get like customized.
There's like an Imago, or no, there's a there's a Cloud Hook Warby Parker, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Imago's is plaid.
Yeah. Imago.
It's got a place to stick your toothpick.
Camo. Huge camo.
I was pretty much imagining them as like a big steampunky, like telescope-ish looking thing over half of your head, and I thought it seemed uncomfortable and you'd probably get like skin irritation from it, but they probably figured that out.
I was picturing them, as I was telling you guys last night, that like the episode from Next Generation where Wesley Crusher gets addicted to a game that beams directly into his eyeballs. I was picturing them like that apparatus, if anybody has seen that episode. If it's not just me.
I feel like we have a few listeners who have seen that episode, know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so speaking of so they're going around the city Mahit figures out is run by basically one big AI. Like, it runs the security systems, it runs the subways, it runs the cloud hooks, presumably the doors, like everything is run by this AI, this algorithm. And I don't understand why they can ever be confused about the fact that they're being surveilled. Like, they seem to think they're outrunning it sometimes, and yet at every turn that's shown not to be true. Like, there's people following them. There's like...
Agree.
Yeah, that seems like a little bit of I don't know. That was one of the things I couldn't swallow, like that they ever thought they were getting away with anything. But I guess they were. I mean, they kind of were. Because she goes off into the nether provinces and gets the second imago put in her.
Oh, that is a...
And nobody seems to understand that she gave away the other one to the revolutionary.
Well, and 12 Azalea just went and stole the other one. I guess it was easy for him.
Out of it?
Yeah, a lot of these things were very easy. It was very soap stuff.
Yeah, very soap stuff. Like, he steals an imago machine out of a dead body, brings it to Homegirl. She's running around with it in her pocket for a while or taped to her body or something.
There's junk on it, too.
Oh, it's so... How did he know how to remove it without damaging it?
I think it had been removed, but he still was able to get it somehow.
Well, no, because in the book, it's like she told him to go through the scar and get it out.
Yeah,
like, somehow he had access to this body, access to it long enough to get something out of its neck.
From its brain.
And nobody stop him. I guess close it back up. I don't know. And then deliver it to her. And then they all had the wherewithal to go to this province, get neurosurgery with a 3-hour recovery time. And then she's just running around saving the world after that. No problem. That was a little
It's
weird.
like it's a very bad authoritarian culture. Like,
like it's authoritarian, but it doesn't want to be.
yeah, like
something.
they're too busy worrying about like political machinations and
Yeah, I guess.
And then so the police are called the Sunlit, which is kind of cool, and they may or may not be robots. We don't know.
That was a cool bit. So like the Sunlit have these faces you can't see because there's like these gold shields over them basically, and they all talk with one voice and turn as one.
Like stormtroopers.
Yeah, like stormtroopers.
Well, they remind me of ancillaries and ancillary justice.
And she said Mahit spends time kind of noodling over how a Teixcalaanli person ends up a Sunlit, which I am curious if those are people who have been like altered in some way or if they're
just they go to Sunlit Academy.
Or if they're like ancillaries of the AI that runs the city.
Oh, yeah. Because like they spend a lot of time talking about how Teixcalaanli culture is against neuro alteration. And so it seems like it would be very against their culture to turn a person into a Sunlit.
They're kind of against, I was reading today when I finished it up, they're against like physical alteration too. So I guess if you like lost your leg, they wouldn't want prosthesis.
Huh.
They said that it also qualifies as an unfair advantage, which that's like the equality argument. Like giving someone a leg back is not unfair.
Oh, that's like, I read about that when people like have to get prosthetic joints and they are runners or something like that. And they have joints that work better than human joints, like their ankle joints make them faster runners. Yeah. I mean, that's what I thought of when they said that in the book.
Or like those like, the bouncy pogo looking things.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Those things that like make you more efficient than like the human body. Yeah, the natural quote unquote human body. I thought that was interesting. But like, and it's a very Roman idea. Romans and like Spartans and like all those people were very against like things that weren't perfect, you know, like they would not keep babies that weren't perfect. And so if you have perfection to start with, you don't have to alter anything, I guess. I don't know. That was interesting. Let's talk about the names.
The names.
They're fun.
So Teixcalaanli names their babies with a number and a noun.
So they're assigned and not self-chosen? Is that true?
Yeah, their parents name you. Just
Unless you are a naturalized citizen.
Yeah. And then you get to be what?
36 all-terrain vehicle.
Oh, I have a quote about
Tundra vehicle.
Oh, 36 all-terrain tundra vehicle.
Which is the broiest, best name.
Well, it's funny because all-terrain already encompasses tundra.
Well, I think there's a lot of problems with that name, other than its redundancy.
Well, and it's funny because like they judge it. They're like, you can always tell someone who naturalized when they pick something like 36 all-terrain tundra vehicle.
It's supposed to be something natural, but like people pick these.
3 Seagrass says, no one would actually name a child that. He has no taste. Even if his parent or his creche was from a low-temperature planet with a lot of tundra in need of all-terrain vehicles.
I love 3 Seagrass. She's so funny.
She's so like quiet and demure, but then like these zingers would pop out.
She really has some sick burns. She's very sharp.
Yeah. She has a way with words.
I think I have to say, like, the characters, I know you guys said you thought the characters weren't super developed. I'm not.
It got better.
I fall elsewhere on that because I didn't understand a lot of the like intergalactic political machination? I don't understand that, but I really liked them and I really liked their rapport.
I like them too. We just don't know anything about where they come from or like anything. Like, we don't know anything about their family. You know, we just never really get.
And I think it's brilliant on the author's part to make this book like, well, that's the point. This is a mystery.
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
I mean, I'm not
still,
mad about it.
I never of my own volition will read any mystery ever.
Oh,
so
I was very excited when I found out it was a murder mystery.
I was a mystery.
I do not like to ever not know what's going on, and lots of people do, but like I said, like I wish they started like here is the beginning of the history.
But there's always reveals in books, even if it's not a mystery.
Oh, for sure. I just don't prefer them. So
the names,
Yeah.
sometimes they're gauche. So from that NPR article, she said, so first I want to say that some of the names are very funny. And I want to be clear, like, this is inspired by actual naming systems, she said, from the Mixtec people of Oaxaca, who, like many Mesoamerican people, were named for the day in the 260-day cycle of the year in which they were born, which is a cycle of 13 numbers and 20 signs, animals, plants, and natural phenomena. So she uses that influence, but it's not actually that. I think it's like whatever name and noun that your parents like. And sometimes it ends up very funny.
Like
Six Direction, the Emperor, Six Direction.
he's a boy band.
Yeah, so she said, so this one thing we talked about was like Six Direction. When you read the Six Direction, the first thing you think of is
One Direction. And I kept imagining it as like how a Pikachu evolves into a Raichu, like a One Direction evolves into Six Direction.
So she says that that was pointed out to her pretty early on, but that she couldn't give up on Six Direction because Teixcalaanli culture has six cardinal directions, and the emperor's name is being Six Direction was just too perfect. She couldn't give it up. But she said, for the record, she did in fact come up with Teixcalaanli names for all of One Direction. And Harry is named One Direction in Teixcalaanli. Zane is one amaryllis. Niall is one lathe. Lewis is one silicon, or maybe semiconductor. And Liam is one expanding insulation foam. And she says you can consider that canon.
It's so funny that she's like, I gotta do it because of the Cardinals, but nobody knew the Cardinals thing.
Yeah, they explain it. So the only way you would know that after reading this is because of the palace layout. If you were into the city planning like I was, she talks about how the palace compound is laid out in the six directions, and so all the platforms are named.
Oh,
after
that was completely lost on me.
That's the only way you would know that is by cluing in on that part, which I enjoyed that part. City planning is interesting to me. So
what are your Teixcalaanli names?
I think I'm 3 Magnolia. Because of, there's lots of magnolias in Savannah. So I decided to go with that.
That would be your naturalized citizen name.
I think I'm 3 Magnolia. I don't know why 3. No, actually, I'm going to go with 4 because I was born on the 4th.
Oh.
4 Magnolia.
Cute. How about you?
4 is my favorite number, so I'd be 4 Nettle.
4 Nettle. That's
very
cute.
witchy. I like it. Yeah.
I grow nettle, so.
I'm not good at naming things, so I'm going to use the random Google's random number generator, and then there's a random noun generator. So I am 8 contribution.
That's not like that.
Exactly right.
I actually really like that.
That's perfect. I like 8 contribution.
Do one
I
for
love
Kevin
that.
right now.
Oh, I did one for Kevin before. It was 29 negotiation.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But you know what? We can do a new one for Kevin. Let's
Then we have
see.
to do our pet ones. We came up with pet ones too.
It's a very fun game. I like it.
Kevin is 5.
Uh-oh.
5 girlfriend.
Oh, no.
Do you have something you'd like to tell me?
Ooh. Who doesn't like a girlfriend?
My nickname for nettle would be, you can call me Sting for short.
Sting.
Cute.
Sting, because stinging nettles is the variety that I got.
Sting is the name of a Bilbo Baggins' sword, FYI.
I don't know what the nickname for Magnolia would be.
You could just do like Petal or Moonlight in Magnolia.
Or Steel Magnolia.
Steel! I love it.
2 fried green tomato. That'd be cute.
Oh, so we came up with ones for our pets too. What's Wilma?
Well, right now, this week, she's going to be 26 lump. Because my cat has a tumor, so she's getting it removed on Thursday.
She's gonna be fine.
Yep.
What are your dogs?
Ella is 10 speed. She's a greyhound. She's very fast. 10 speed. She's 10 speed.
We call her Bike for short.
Yeah. Or Schwinn.
And then Teddy, who are you? I don't know.
Neck.
5 floof.
Teddy's zero neck.
0 neck. 1 riffraff.
Poor Teddy.
Oscar's had long-term digestive issues, so he's 3 puke. Or a larger number puke. 100 puke. And then little RBG, nobody ever sees her, so she's 3 hiding place.
Oh,
I love that one.
Yeah. God, that was fun.
it is a fun game. I like
That's
it.
a fun game.
Yeah, tweet us your Teixcalaanli names.
Yes, I want to hear all of your Teixcalaanli
Every
names.
pet,
and
everybody.
your pets,
your grandma.
everybody. That was all my talking points. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to talk about?
I would like to talk about, so Ixander is the lover of 12 ads and the Emperor. But the entire time the Emperor is like on literally like death's door. How old? What's the age gap?
I know because
80 years of peace.
And Ixander just died?
He was in his 40s.
Were they like hooking up while the poor Emperor is like decrepit?
Yeah, 90? I think it's like a 50-year age.
He says, so when she gets her second Imago machine, she says that, or Iskander tells her that he wasn't that bad off when Iskander died. So I get the impression it was some sort of fast-moving cancer or something there at the end.
He still seems like decrepit.
But he was like 80 and Iskander's like 40.
Yeah.
Because he had to be at least 80 because 80 years of peace.
Yeah.
So he had to be, was he 100?
Yeah, then they don't have like a they don't have, I think that their life expectancy is like relatively the same as ours. Yeah. So I think he was like 100.
That's like a Harold and Maude thing. So
Grandpa.
Do we think that did he really love him or was he using him for like political advantage?
No, I think he did because all those endocrine responses.
Yeah, I think it's both.
Yeah, that's true. You can probably talk yourself into loving somebody.
No low dose.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it could have started as one and turned into the other, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's both.
Oh, Sixth Direction. So decrepit there. Ooh, but y'all read this book if you haven't, because at the end, Sixth Direction does something pretty impactful. Should we talk about it?
Sure.
Okay. I always wonder if we should do spoilers. So spoiler.
I think we always do.
We do. So at the end, Mahit tells Sixth Direction that there's an alien invasion threat, and Sixth Direction needs to fix this power struggle that's going on so that they can turn all their attention to fighting off these aliens. And so Sixth Direction's strategy for this is to hand over power to 19 ads. And the way he does this is by standing in a very large gold bowl and slicing his femoral arteries on public television and basically sacrificing himself blood sacrificing himself to bless this secession of this power transfer, which was a very moving moment.
Mm-hmm. And no one knew he was going to do it. And then they sort of realized, like, 3 seagrass and 19 ads, like, saw what was coming, like, seconds before when he was giving his speech. And 3 seagrass is like, no, wait, he's not about to. And then he does.
He just stands up and he takes off his robe and then he slices his own thighs and forearms. And then that's that. It was so much.
It was.
And there's a lot happening in that moment. 3 seagrass and Mahit are falling in love. Like,
I love them together.
Six Directions bleeding into a bowl. 19 ads is wearing bloody white clothes, realizing she's going to be the next emperor. We're still mourning 12 Azalea. We haven't even talked about 12 Azalea.
And 19 ads also loves the emperor.
I know.
So, like, her longtime friend and maybe also lover just, like, died in front of her and she didn't know it was going to happen. I mean, it is just like it's
so
a lot.
Much. And Brain Iskander is now very sad also because he loves the emperor. So now Mahit is in love with 3 seagrass, but she's also mourning Sixth Direction, even though she was never in love with Sixth Direction.
They're having this intense grief snog. It's
so much. Everybody had a lot of snot on their face. It was so much was happening. Also, in that moment, I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that Mahit had neurosurgery not too long before that, and the inside of her mouth was disgusting, and she had never gotten that fixed. Between having her neurosurgery and making out with 3 seagrass.
Oh, dear.
So much.
That's how you know you're really into each other.
So, yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's hot. Good for them.
Bless. So there's a lot in this book. I mean, we haven't even talked about the different kinds of cultural empire building that you can have. Like, there's military empire building where you go attack places, and there's cultural empire building where your culture infiltrates places.
Oh, yeah.
She talked about it like McDonald's and Hollywood movies.
Teixcalaanli views itself as like a benevolent. They're like, oh, no, we'll absorb you, and then you'll be part of us because we're the best thing, so wouldn't you want to be?
Yeah. And some people think yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Ixander, part of his scheme was to get Teixcalaanli to protect Elsel Station because he knew what was brewing on the other side with these like shadowy figures that we don't know much about in their wheel-shaped ships. Mm-hmm. So he is really trying to save the station, but from the perspective of the leaders of the station, he was trying to sell them out, which is why they sabotaged him, sabotaged the Imago machine.
I had a question about that. So we know that one of the leaders in Elsel Station sabotages Mahit's Imago machine before it's implanted in her. I was never clear on why. So you think it's because they knew Iskander was trying to sell the technology or give the technology away?
Well, I think it's because that person saw Ixander as a threat to Elsel Station's independence, did not know that Ixander's motivation was to ensure that Teixcalaanli would be invested in protecting the station because there's this bigger bad out there. So I think Ixander was choosing annexation of the station as a lesser evil to save them and make them safe, because he's like, I'd rather us be intact.
Oh, interesting. Because I saw it as him giving away that technology to bribe them for not annexing LSL Station.
Maybe I might just not remember.
But my more important question was why that person sabotaged the Imago machine.
I think it's because they thought that Ixander was basically a poison.
Interesting. Okay. So she just wanted to get rid of that line of Imago machine.
Yeah, I think pretty much.
Interesting. Okay.
But I may be misremembering.
I'll be interested to see how she handles Mahit going back to LSL Station, explaining that to them in the second, if she talks about that in the second book.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see how it shapes up.
Interesting. Anything else?
Yeah, I would like to go over soap stuff.
Oh, yeah, we're not there. I was going to go through feminist faves.
Oh, okay. I don't have those because in books by women, there aren't like...
Yeah.
Everyone's just a person,
yeah.
So...
I liked 19 ads. I kept imagining Salma Hayek walking around and just being a badass. I really liked her. So I think she was my feminist fave. But yeah, just all the main characters were women. And so that is nice. Nice. It's just nice. So no misogynist moments. I didn't have any. No. There was one mention of, there is some boob talk. There's one mention of Mahit's boobs.
Oh, really?
She took a shower at 19 Ads' house, and she says afterwards she dressed in the clothes 5 Agate had left her, all aside from the undergarments. She wasn't about to wear someone else's panties, which, correct. And the bra they'd given her was sized for a woman with more need for bras than Mahit strictly had. So there was a sweet way to say it. There was some boob talk.
Such a sweet way to say it.
I know.
More need for bras.
More support. All right, yeah, fantastical food. There was a lot of food in this book. There was actually an interesting cultural, a way of describing the differences in the LSL Station culture and Teixcalaanli culture was using Mahit's reaction to the food.
This would be my ideal meal. Small bowls of spiced meat and dumpling wrappers covered in a creamy, semi-fermented sauce laced with red oil.
Yeah, does sound good. Mahit spent a lot of time licking spoons. Did y'all notice that? She had, one of the first things she ate, she started licking the back of that spoon. Then she had some ice cream. She was licking that spoon.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't notice that.
I bet she was used to, space rations. So, fresh food.
Oh, yeah, packets and stuff.
Yeah, she wasn't used to it. She had that same reaction. They had real meat on Teixcalaanli, and she was she kept reacting to that was used to be alive, and now they're eating it. And yeah, I was particularly amused by Mahit staring 3 seagrass down as she made sandwiches. They were at the table, and she was just using whatever they use for bread there and just making these little sandwiches and eating, and Mahit couldn't stop staring at her. And so finally 3 Seagrass was like, do you want some? What are you looking at? It was pretty funny. Okay, yeah, soap stuff. There was so much soap stuff.
Oh my god, the Imago machine. That is full Days of Our Lives. And what I kept thinking about was Princess Gina von Amberg, who I talked about in a previous soap stuff. I talked about her daughter Greta, who was the swamp girl who just had mud on her face and no one knew who she was. And then she washed her face and they were like, oh my god, it's Greta von Amberg.
Oh, briefly, that reminds me, my other Teixcalaanli name would be for Marsh Rat. Go ahead.
Okay. So Princess Gina von Amberg, she was an associate of Stefano de Mera, who's the crime boss of Salem, the Anytown, USA, where Days of Our Lives takes place. And so I think she was also a lover, but she was an art forger who worked for Stefano de Mera. And then she was in love with this guy, John Black, who was used as a pawn by Stefano. And there's brain chip things going on with John Black too, because for a while he was Roman Brady and then he left and he came back. And then it turned out he was never Roman Brady and Roman Brady was someone else. And Marlena Evans was married to both of them.
Oh, I remember. I've heard that name, Marlena.
Can you believe she was married to both of them as Roman Brady? And then when it was revealed that John Black was John Black, she married him too. I know. But anyway, and she and Roman stayed friends. He's a nice man. But anyway, so Stefano de Mera has this thing going on with Princess Gina von Amberg. And then when John Black goes away and is a priest for a while, she descends into madness and isn't forging paintings anymore. And Stefano's like, well, I really need her. So he kidnaps Hope Brady, who's a resident of Salem, and puts a chip in her brain. And then she just is Princess Gina. Because she looks just like her. So he puts the chip in her, and then she becomes his, girlfriend / art forger. And the way that you can tell, because sometimes Princess Gina ends up back in Salem, and she is Princess Gina, but she's pretending to be Hope. You can tell because she looks off into the distance and arches one eyebrow, and that's how you know that Princess Gina is steering the ship. And I just like could not with the Imago Machine. It was like full Hope Brady, Princess Gina, Roman Brady, John Black, like full Stefano DiMera is running the show here.
I definitely think she has the author has a penchant for sort of dramatic plot devices. I mean,
Well, that's very Teixcalaanli, right?
Yeah, the back alley neurosurgery was also pretty like soapy to me. Like,
oh my gosh.
Like you're gonna swoop in, have this magical neurosurgery, suddenly have all your problems with that one thing fixed.
Oh,
and now
I just remembered like Stefano DiMera has his own mad scientist doctor who does this stuff. His name is Rolf.
Portico, or whatever her name was in the book.
I can't remember.
something Portico.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy that they just like took the train to the seedy part of town and got a brain surgery. And like with a machine that no one in Teixcalaanli has ever encountered or knows anything about.
She just attaches it, no problem.
It was a hard surgery. But
She's like, beep boop.
It was difficult. It seemed difficult. At least for Mahit, it seemed difficult.
surgical enhancements are a big feature in this game that I'm playing called Cyberpunk 2077. So it was very similar. I enjoyed that.
I think the other soapy thing to me was the assassination attempts. Those were pretty good. Like the poison flower that she was going to breathe in.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
19 ads swoops in.
Floral
And
assassination.
just floral assassination, and then the guy lurking in her rooms.
That feels very like epic to me. The flower where you would just like sniff the flower and
so
then
dramatic.
immediately die.
It could be a good cliffhanger.
Like an opera
for-
or something.
Yeah.
It's like a good soap cliffhanger. Like you're about to breathe in the flower, and for the last 3 weeks you've seen the flower make its way to the person, and then
19 ads
will she,
is like,
won't she?
stop. But then we actually think 19 ads probably planted the flower or
19 ads both
participated in
gave it to her and took it away. So
She had second thoughts.
And she seems to have like no hard feelings about that. Mahit.
yeah, everybody's fine with it.
She's like, I got to get back to 19 ads where it's safe.
What's funny is that they say this a lot. Teixcalaanli don't smile with their mouth; they smile with their eyes.
They smile all the time.
So I
imagine it.
I just sat in my living room and be like,
Me too.
Oh, if you guys want to see what it looks like, you watch America's Next Top Model when Tyra Banks teaches those girls to smize. Let's smile with your eyes. So you have to cover your mouth.
but they're humans though, right? Like smiling is like a physiological response.
I mean, I guess
It's cultural,
we think
though.
it is.
But they don't smile with their teeth in a lot of cultures now. I think Japan is one. They don't smile with their teeth. Like it's
but like,
seen as-
but they use their mouth.
well, yes, but I'm just telling you, there's different cultural
I got the
takes
impression
on what is
I got the
polite.
impression that they didn't use their mouth at all.
No, I also got that.
Yeah, I don't think they
I'm not
do.
saying they were the same as Japan. I'm saying that I think that even now there are different cultural facial expressions that people have.
My chin looks so big if I don't smile with teeth. It's
Well-
like my mouth just leaps up to directly beneath my nose, and then it's just all chin.
Yeah, I mean, there's like lots of people think Americans are dumb because we smile constantly, but I think everybody smiles. So yeah,
Wait,
Yeah, I mean, babies smile, but did they? I don't know.
they don't. A lot of people don't just smile at strangers in the street.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
Americans, we're a very smiley,
Especially
culture.
Southerners.
Yeah,
We
like in
smile at
France,
each
people
other
don't
all
smile all
the
the time, but like they still smile when they're happy. So
Yeah, I was just picturing everybody doing an America's Next Top Model smize the whole time.
I gotta look it up.
Yeah, Tyra Banks is very good at it. Okay, did you guys like this book?
I did.
it's pretty good.
Okay, I liked it.
I didn't understand a lot of the politics stuff.
I
but-
couldn't explain the politics.
I didn't
to you.
understand the politics until the very, very, very end.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's right. I think that's maybe like you're supposed to, but
Maybe.
I just liked Mahit and 3 Seagrass and our poor dearly departed 12 Azalea so much. And I liked 19 ads too. She's just like
She's badass.
I do what needs to be done kind of person.
It might have benefited a little bit from a change. Just if she wanted to write a completely different book, she could have chapters from the political people's point of view, so we knew what they were doing. That might have helped my
maybe.
my understanding a little bit. But that's not the book she wrote, so that's fine. Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, guys?
Well, Star Wars.
it's pretty
It's
spacey.
got to be Star Wars.
It's in
right?
space and there's a war brewing.
Yeah.
And then also
And
the
there's an
whole like
empire.
the city planet, like how in Star Wars
Coruscant.
when you're like,
Coruscant, yeah.
well, we just got to go to Coruscant, and it's like no one ever goes to a different place on the same planet that they're already on in Star Wars. It's like planets just are in the place of
They're
cities.
cities,
They have that one city.
So it felt like that.
and climbs.
yeah. All right. Well, coming up next time, Hyperion, Dan Simmons.
It's a good book.
Very
Also,
exciting.
the author of our favorite book, The Terror.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Hyperion is next, and
Yeah.
rate, review, and subscribe.
Yep.
Bye.
Frank is such a cool monster too.
I haven't.
So pointy.